in eastern Ukraine has reached a critical juncture, with Russian forces executing a major operational encirclement that has trapped a large and vital contingent of the Ukrainian army between the cities of Pokrovsk and Konstantinovka. This development marks a severe setback for Kyiv, creating a dangerous pocket, or cauldron, that threatens tens of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers. The successful Russian maneuver followed months of planning and a powerful offensive designed to cut off Ukrainian supply routes and isolate their forward defensive position. This strategic victory for Moscow could fundamentally alter the course of the conflict in the Donbas region, placing immense pressure on Ukraine's military and political leadership. The operation began with a series of intense preparatory attacks. Russian Aerospace Force launched a massive campaign using advanced guided glide bombs, targeting Ukrainian command centers, ammunition storage sites, and heavily fortified areas along the front line. This aerial assault aimed to disrupt Ukraine's command structure and sow confusions. At the same time, Russian electronic warfare units worked to jam Ukrainian communications and drone operations, effectively blinding Ukrainian forces on the ground and isolating them from their leadership. This coordinated effort significantly weakened Ukrainian defense before the main ground attack began. The ground offensive was a two-pronged assault. From the north, units from a guard tank army pushed past Ukrainian lines above Pokrovsk, a city that served as a crucial railway and logistics center for Ukrainian forces. The Russian armored columns moved quickly, bypassing strong defensive points to penetrate deep into Ukrainian-held territory and seize control of the main highway heading west. The speed of this advance appeared to catch Ukrainian defenders off guard, as they were still recovering from the initial air and electronic attacks. Simultaneously, a southern pincer composed of experienced units from the southern military district launched an attack from near Kyiv. These forces pushed northwest, aiming to capture the high ground that overlooks the road connecting Konstantinovka with Kyiv. This part of the offensive involved intense close-range fighting, as Ukrainian troops mounted a determined defense from a complex network of trenches. However, the relentless Russian artillery bombardment, which fired tens of thousands of shells daily, gradually overwhelmed the defenders and forced them to retreat. The encirclement was completed when the northern and southern Russian forces met near the village of Novorodivka, closing the last major road into the Pokrovsk and Konstantinovka area. With their supply line severed, the large Ukrainian forces inside the newly formed pocket was left in a perilous position, with shrinking stockpiles of ammunition, food, and medical supplies. The trapped area became a free fire zone for Russian artillery, which now occupied the surrounding high ground. For the Ukrainian soldiers caught inside the cauldron, the situation has become desperate. Early attempts to break out of the encirclement were met with fierce resistance from Russian forces who had quickly established strong defensive position. Russian drones now fly with little opposition, providing continuous surveillance and directing artillery fire onto any Ukrainian movement. Communications from within the pocket describes a grim reality of collapsing morale and a feeling of being abandoned. The shortage of medical supplies has created a crisis for the many thousands of wounded soldiers. The Ukrainian military command is now confronted with an extremely difficult choice: launching a large-scale counterattack to break through the Russian lines and relieve the trapped soldiers would be a high-risk operation. It would require pulling troops and equipment from other important areas of the front, potentially leaving other sectors vulnerable to attacks. There is no assurance such an effort would succeed against the well-prepared Russian defenses. The alternative, ordering the encircled troops to surrender, would represent a massive loss of experienced soldiers and equipment, and it would be a devastating blow to Ukrainian national morale. This military disaster carries significant strategic weight. The potential loss of the thousands of trapped soldiers and the fall of this territory would cripple Ukraine's ability to defend the remainders of the Donbas. It could clear a path for Russian forces to advance toward other key cities like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, the administrative heart of the Ukrainian-controlled portion of the Donetsk region. The event is also expected to have serious political consequences in Kyiv, likely leading to questions about military strategy and leadership. In Washington, the new administrations of President Donald Trump is watching the event closely. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been in discussion with European allies, and Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth is receiving ongoing updates from the Pentagon. The Trump administration has been reassessing the United States' role in the conflict, and this major Ukrainian defeat will intensify the debate over American policy. While some in Washington advocate for continued robust support for Ukraine, others argue for a reduction in aid, viewing the conflict as a European issue that should not deeply involve the United States. European leaders have responded with alarm to the news of the Encirclement. Having consistently supported Ukraine, they now face the possibility of a significant Russian victory on the European Union's eastern border. The development has highlighted Europe's military limitations and its continued security dependence on the United States. The crisis is likely to lead to renewed demand for European nations to increase their own defense spending and develop greater strategic independence. The Russian success is the result of military adaptation throughout the long conflict. After initial setback, the Russian military has improved its command and control, giving more autonomy to officers on the ground. They have also become highly effective at integrating intelligence from drones with precision strikes from artillery and aircraft. Sophisticated electronic warfare systems have given them an advance in disrupting Ukrainian operations. On the ground, they have employed small, mobile assault groups to effectively penetrate Ukrainian defensive line. Ukraine, in contrast, has struggled with persistent challenges. A severe shortage of artillery ammunition has consistently left its force outgunned. Maintaining troops level through mobilization has become increasingly difficult and unpopular. Additionally, Ukraine has found it hard to counter Russia's superiority in electronic warfare, which has hampered its own drone operations and communications. These factors have contributed directly to the current crisis facing Ukrainian forces in the Donbas. The administration of President Donald Trump has indicated a shift toward a more America-first foreign policy, and the crisis will test this new approach. The president has expressed a desire to find a quick end to the war, even suggesting that a negotiated settlement involving territorial concessions might be necessary. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stated that while the U.S. wants the war to end, it's not our war. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has echoed the sentiment that European allies must take on a greater share of the security burden, while also emphasizing that a negotiated peace is in the American interest, even if the outcome is not ideal for all parties. This perspective is reinforced by the domestic focus of other key cabinet officials. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent is reviewing financial aid, while Attorney General Pam Bondi is focused on corruption, issues that could lead to a reduction in support for Kyiv. This inward-looking posture suggests the administration may be hesitant to escalate its involvement in response to the Encirclement, instead pushing harder for a diplomatic solution. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and Director of the Central Intelligence Agency John Ratcliffe are providing the president with continuous intelligence assessment that will inform these high-stakes decisions. Many of my listeners, like 70%, haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so many of you don't even know that you haven't subscribed. And that is actually what makes the show going. It's almost like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask again and again, because it enables us to grow and grow and grow. And we're going for the long haul here. And listen, if this is your first time listening to World Global Conflict, you don't have to subscribe. You guys, you're first ones on me. But if you have watched this show before, it's like you are freeloader now. So all I would ask you is, if you have seen this show before and you like it, help me, help my team here. Hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. That I swear. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. That's all for me for today. I will see you soon. Bye for now.